Hey everybody, welcome back to another exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. This is going to be our November 2024 compilation video. Yes, we are still behind, but I figure so long as I have these videos out before the end of January, when I actually need to do January's video to be on time, you'll just deal with it. So this month, in an oddity that has not been seen very often, there are no kits from round 2 being released. There were, and now looking back at this from January of 2025, there were a couple of things that came out in November, but they were October's kits that just sort of lagged behind, and it didn't come out until the very first couple of days, first week of November. They weren't November releases. There are no November releases, but we do have, on the domestic side of things, kits from Revel and kits from Salvinos. There are 3 brand new tools as part of this slate of kits we're going to talk about here. This is kind of that time of the year that happens in the summer and right before Christmas, where the Japanese manufacturers release, usually 1 or 2 new things per company. And so we're processing through those things in these videos. So let's start here on the US side of things. Over at Revel, we got one straight reissue. Only thing different about this from the last time this kit was released in a pink car on the box art is the decal sheet is different, and that is a reissue of the 1970 Dodge Charger RT. This kit was very hard to come by. It was released right before Hasagawa took Revel down with the ship, so to speak. Don't need to revisit that. That happened in 2018. If you want to revisit it, there's videos on this channel that detail everything that went down from the bankruptcy to the auction to where we are today. But having said all that, this kit came out, listen, right at the end of 2017, right before the bankruptcy was filed and everything went to hell. And so this kit never got a sort of a restock. The initial run sold out pretty quickly, as you might imagine, a stock 1970 Dodge Charger would. And like I said, there was never that little shorter run of, say, 3,000-4,000 kits to add back the stock because, well, they went out of business. Got picked up by the German company, and now this is obviously the first time since the sale that the kit has been brought back. So a lot of people very happy to see this kit come back. Again, decals and the red line tires, the only real difference between this one and the original one. This is, if you remember your kit lineage of the 70 Charger, is a modified reissue of the Dom's Charger from the Fast and the Furious movie. People would probably argue that this is the kit that Dom's was modified from, but in chronological order, the Dom's Fast and Furious kit did come out first, prior to the factory stock one. Obviously, that was just the way the tooling was amortized to, create, because this was a new tool. The 70 Dodge Charger and the Fast and Furious was a new tool, with the stock parts obviously being the second variant of that new tool. They are not actually like a continuation of the 68 and the 69. This was a new one that was done at the time. So I know, again, lots of people were happy to see this come back. If you haven't picked one up yet, go grab one. It's an excellent kit. The other reissue this month, and this is a slightly modified reissue, is the 1970 Dodge Shelby. Well, that's about another 16 years in the future we'll start getting Dodge Shelbys. This is a Ford Mustang Shelby GT500. So there's a very, really interesting backstory to this car in real life. These were unsold 1969 Shelby GT500s that, with extreme scrutiny of the FBI and the Michigan State Police, they were revinned as 1970s. They had the center stripes you see on the hood in the box art there added. That is the differentiation between the 69 and the 70 as far as visually, and that little chin spoiler down below the front bumper. Interestingly, there are chin spoilers that would fit this Mustang floating around in the Revel inventory, but this is actually a newly tooled piece to make sure it really, really actually fits this kit. The 69 Shelby GT500, that goes back into the late 80s, early 90s in terms of when it was a new tool. It's a 1/25th scale kit. It's patterned after some of the monogram kits. When you look at it, you can see where, it's not from the monogram kit. They didn't just call it 1/25th scale, but you can see where they sort of used the older 69 Mustangs as sort of a reference point to do this kit, the way it breaks down. But otherwise, the kit is a 69 Shelby. If you leave the chin spoiler off and leave the hood stripes off, you have a 69 Shelby. So you can build a 69 out of this just by leaving one part and some decals off. But the 1970, again, is a very little unique corner of automotive history for Ford, and it's something that has never existed before. There's never been a kit or an offering of a 70 Ford Mustang Shelby GT500, and now you have one. So that's kind of cool, I guess. I did pick one of those up. I already had a 70 Charger from the pink box art, so I didn't grab one of those. But I did pick up the Shelby. Over at Salvus J, I had 2 kits for the month of November. One's a vintage kit, and it is this, the 87 Ford Thunderbird, Ford Wood Brothers Racing, driven by Kyle Petty. So they have licensing to both of these things, Wood Brothers and Kyle Petty. That's why, obviously, this isn't just Wood Brothers Racing with no mention as to who the driver is. If you've seen that with certain Salvino's kits where they're licensed with a driver, but not the team, or licensed with the team, but not the driver, you get an odd sort of way the kit is described. They have licensing for both of these things, so this comes out in this fashion. The kit is molded in white, decals do all the rest, and it is, of course, the old monogram kit underneath all of this, as all of the 80s vintage kits that Salvinos has done are. Now you'll say, but James, the Le Mans was a body they did themselves, and the 2+2 Grand Prix was a body they did themselves, and that's true. Those are new bodies that they had tooled up, but the basis of those kits, the chassis and everything else, are still the old monogram Grand Prix. So this is there's nothing new about this. They've released this 87 body style already as the Davey Allison car, so just a new set of decals added into it. For this, kind of a cool, it's kind of a cool thing. I would have been 10 when this car ran, and like it's in that memory bank of that era of NASCAR when I started following NASCAR. So it's cool for that. And then another Camaro, because that's the only thing we can do. This is Chase Elliott's 2024 gold Napa car, black kit, everything in gold trim. It's kind of cool looking, but again, how many Camaros? I don't want to critique Salvino's particularly on that, because it's just the way things are. It's ultimately, are they responsible for the way things are? Yes, but it is what it is. You overuse that cliche. The only sort of problem all these Camaros in 2024 with nothing else other than a couple of 2023 Mustangs did is the fact that you now almost can't sell secondary resale market a Camaro kit right now. I have a couple of them that I'd like to get rid of that don't sort of fit into anything I want to do right now. I have some that I'm saving because they're race winning cars or other things, but there's a couple of them that are just floating around. They're actually 2022 cars, and looking at them on eBay, people have them up there for half of what they were priced at, and they were some of the first kits that were priced below $40. So they're on there for like $20, and they don't sell. They've managed to turn this Camaro next gen car into the $5 monogram NASCAR kit, because there's so many of them. And even with them doing very short production runs of 1,500 kits per car, that's still somewhere in the neighborhood of 12,000 Camaros in 2024 that they've done. So yeah, there's a lot of them floating around out there, and but yeah, it is what it is. If you're a Chase Elliott fan, you're super excited because, hey, it's another Chase Elliott car. And Chase Elliott is the best-selling modern driver for them, so I understand why they do it. So again, I don't want to go on some tangent about it. It is the result of what happened, and they have licensing obligations to Hendricks, obviously, and like I said, Chase, most popular driver, so you sell what sells. That'll take us overseas to Japan. We've got, again, several new tools out of the Japanese manufacturers this month. Let's start where there are none. Let's go through the reissues from Fujimi real quick, because there are several this month as they sort of plod their way through things. First up, you have a reissue of the Toyota Mark II in the GX71 body style. This is like an early 1980s Toyota Mark II. This is another one of these high society kits. You can clearly see here on the box art, it's got that goofy whale bottom rubber applique that you put on the bottom of the doors. It's got chrome foil for the fender lips. It's got a Bozu antenna. It actually has these torque thrust, or not torque thrust, because those would be mag wheels, but these sort of 4-spoke twist wheels, I should say, that you see on the box art. So wheels are actually included in that, so that's always good when they really give you what they're trying to sell you there. These kits are dirt cheap. They're, well, they should be, frankly, but they're like $11, $12. So, I mean, they're at least not charging a lot for them, but, you know, I think they could have released these once as curbsides, gone back and released them a second time in what was known as the High Mecha series, where they tooled up engines to go in these, because those exist. They were reissued in the mid-2010s. I have all three of them, because all three of these cars are effectively the same car. They're just whether or not it's a hardtop or a pillarless hardtop or a coupe style hardtop. They're all 4-doors, but like one has a heavy B pillar, one has a pillarless hardtop, and then the other one was like the sports version of the sedan, which is not saying a lot about these cars. They weren't that sporty, but it's the gist of the way the cars were organized within Toyota of how they sold them. One was a luxury car, one was like the family car, and one was like a sporty version. At any rate, that's back out. And then we have a couple of more kits out of the initial D series, and a couple more kits out of the Wangan Midnight series. So in the initial D series, you have this. It is an AE, technically it's an AE 85 Toyota Corolla Levin from Inosuke Takahashi being the driver here. This, within the legend of Initial D, this is a like comedy bit, if you will. He wanted to have a car that was like the Tofu car, the AE 86 Truno, and so he bought an AE 85 Levin. An AE 85 Levin is the 1.5 liter 4-cylinder naturally aspirated economy car that had, you know, like nothing to do with the Truno that was the hero car of the series, and so he was relentlessly made fun of for buying this wannabe car, this economy car, and wanting to race it. So it's, you know, it's a little bit of slapstick within the series itself. This has I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this has the new chassis underneath of it. Let me check real quick. We'll go through the images here. Yes, it does. It has the new Easy Alignment System chassis underneath of it, which, you know, makes this kit a little less, you know, dingy in the overall sense of the fact that, you know, this was tooled up in the early 1990s and it had an old motorized chassis underneath of it originally. They've since modified it again with that newer chassis they've tooled up for the 8086 line. It basically, the only thing it fits underneath of is the Trunos and the 11s. The other kit from the Initial D series is the R32 Skyline GTR that is Kozo Hoshino's car. This kit is a snap-tight kit. All of the R34s that Fujimi did are snap-tight kits. They won't sell them as snap-tight kits. They won't mention their snap-tight kits. But having had one in the past, because I was like, oh, they sold a R34 GTR with a Nismo front bumper on it, which was be like a post-factory option. Wouldn't have been something you could have bought on the street. Actually, I believe this car has the Nismo front bumper in it. The kit does. And it was like, oh, that's kind of unique, because it came with a set of Nismo rims, which this kit also has. But then you get it, and it's like, ooh, this is this is not what I was expecting. I was expecting a glue kit. I knew, you know, well, none of the R34s have engines in them. You can buy, like, hobby design engines to put in them. But, like, in the series of Tamiya, Aoshima, Fujimi's is definitely at the bottom end of the R34 kits that are available. So, that being said, let's move over to the Wangan Midnight cars. Now, both of these kits are more or less the same. The only difference between them are wheels and I believe the spoilers are different, but like the contents between the two are basically identical. First up, you have a Nissan Skyline GTR R32, known as the Reena car. Reena was the young lady who drove the car. She is there on the box art. In a couple of places, she's both driving and she's just hanging out there. Man, that is a weird 90s drawing of the young lady there. This sort of has the GTLM front bumper, the Nismo bumper, that was on the race cars. That was, again, a post-factory ad. I think you could get this on one. If you bought a Nismo GTR towards the end of the R32 production run, you could get this bumper, but it wasn't something that came normally as a standard, option. And then the other one is Tamias R32 Skyline GTR, and you see this one has a carbon fiber front bonnet or spoiler or hood here in the United States. It has a giant rear spoiler on it that is not in Reena's car, and it has a different wheel set. Both are this one is, I'm trying to think what the wheels these are. They're Volk Racing B wheels in this kit, and the other ones are BBS. These wheels are slightly smaller size. The other ones are like a 20-inch BBS. These are like an 18-inch Volk Racing wheel size. So, again, if you're trying to collect the Wangman Midnight kits, they haven't been out for a little while. And these, the R32s are not the greatest kits. Again, if you're looking at on a tier level, it's now that the Hasagawa kit exists. And you could argue my rankings based on whether or not you care if it has an engine or not, because obviously the Tamiya R32 has an engine, but it is an older kit at this point. It was tooled up in 1990. So, personally, my view, Hasagawa, Tamiya, Fujimi, Aoshima, because Aoshima is a really junky chassis, and they put a new chassis underneath these Fujimi kits that's a little bit better, and gives it that little and nudges it up above the Aoshima kit ever so slightly. But if you're, like I said, if you're collecting the Wang and Midnight kits, this is the only game in town, which is technically not true, because there is an Aoshima Wang and Midnight series. A lot of people don't realize that, but you'll be seeing more of that in 2025. And let me see, is that it for Fujimi? Nope, one more kit from Fujimi. I thought so. There is a reissue of their Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 8 GSR in the GTW wing set. So basically, the wing set is the toss-in here. Otherwise, this is just a factory stock Evo 8. Not a lot to write home about there. Curbside, it is the only Evo 8 that exists in kit form, so you have to sort of deal with what you get. The issue, if you will, with the Lancers from Fujimi is the fact that they were never really significantly modified after they put out their initial Evo 3. They all run it on the same chassis. Now, I realize in real life the chassis didn't change that much between the Evo 3 and the Evo 9 in a way that you'd be able to tell. There's a lot of bits and pieces, some of which Fujimi did add to this chassis, but you get like three, four steering wheels in this, because it has like the Evo 3 steering wheel and Evo 5 steering wheel, the 7 steering wheel, the 8 steering wheel. It's got a couple extra sets of seats. It's got you have to pay attention to the instructions so that you use the right parts, because some of them haven't been used in like 5 generations of the Evo by the time you got to building around this kit. So, all in all, decent Evo 8. Are you gonna like hold a parade and and throw put it on a pedestal? It's a curbside Fujimi kit, so it'll look good when it's done, but it's not gonna be the most technically accurate kit, if you will. That makes sense, right? It's not the most accurate Evo 8. They could have done a better one, but you get what you get. Over at Aoshima, a couple reissues in the series that I love these kits, because they were like the craziness of the of this series, the Seibu Keisatsu TV series. They're two oddball things. How about a Nissan Gazelle convertible? So yeah, now in the next month, when we get around to not next month literally, but next month in December's kits, we're gonna talk about the new Hasagawa Nissan Gazelle. This one isn't new. It's from like 1970s, early 1980s. It is a pretty bad kit, like quality wise, right? It's beat the rivets into the axle with a hammer, motorized chassis, very basic, very motorized toy. But it's the only way you're going to get a Gazelle convertible, unless, I don't know, Hasagawa loses their mind and decides to do that. This was basically the chief of the department's car. I guess, sure. I mean, maybe it was his personal vehicle. I admit that I don't know the series that well to know why this one was in it per se, but yeah, that's available. And then the other thing I really have always got a kick out of is the Nissan Safari 4-wheel drive and tank car. So if they would have released this, and I don't know they'll ever go back and do this, because you never want to say never with Aoshima, because they're doing those factory stock versions of the pickup trucks that have never been factory stock before, even though they're still kind of like day 2-ish more than they are factory stock. But at any rate, this kit, if they could strip all the junk off of it and do a body like for the back that isn't a fire vehicle, you would get a very basic old curbside motorized Nissan Patrol out of this, or Nissan Safari. Technically the same vehicle, it's just what name they were called when they were, what countries they were sold in. And that would be pretty cool, because that would be like a 1980s, you know, SUV that would go along with like the International Scouts and the Land Cruisers and all the other vehicles of that type at the time. But it's attached to this TV show as this fire vehicle. So yeah, unfortunately, unless you want to do a lot of modifications to the body and a lot of filling and sanding and scratch building, or maybe 3D printing a new back to the vehicle that actually was, you know, a hatchback instead of being closed off fire apparatus, you're kind of stuck with this. Again, I don't want to say they would never do that, but I'm going to guess they're never going to do that. Next kit up from Aoshima is a reissue of their Toyota 86 in its 2012 format, I believe. Let me check and make sure. Nope, 2016 format. This is the Uma Musume Pretty Derby car. So this is one of those pain graphics cars. You have two different variations of this young lady. She's on each side of the vehicle. It is like one decal on one side, one decal on the other. It's not like two different livery schemes entirely. This is a factory stock Toyota 86 GT underneath of it all, so there's no modifications to the kit whatsoever. It is just tied into this. Let me check real quick here. Is this a cartoon? Well, I guess not. It says it's the characters of Tokai Teo and Miro McQueen from the series are back for the first time in a long while in 1/24 scale. So I maybe they've done this in the past as far as these characters. I don't remember that. This is from Uma Musume Pretty Derby, a training simulation game that was released in February of 2021. So obviously you can build a 2016 Toyota 86 GT out of this without putting the decals on and just have a factory stock kit if you've never had one of these. This is, let me check real quick, I believe this is the curbside version of it. I don't think this comes with an engine. I'm trying to go backwards through the through the directions here. Nope, no engine in this, so this is purely curbside. And it does come, I think it's just because it's standard with this kit, it does come with left-hand drive. So if you wanted to buy this just to build a left-hand drive vehicle 86 out of it, because you haven't had one of the other ones, you can. Next up, Aoshima brand new tool. So this is the next kit in the Snap car line, and this is a 2018 Suzuki Jimny. This is going to come in 3 different colors, molded in colors. These are snap tight kits, so obviously they're not designed to be glue or painted, so highly polished bodies, everything in molded in a color. So the roof is molded in black and the body is molded in the body color, and so on and so forth. They're coming again, like I said, 3 colors. So you got kinetic yellow, you've got chiffon ivory metallic, and you have jungle green. So these are the K car versions. These are the, you know, JDM only. They don't sell these outside of Japan. There is a different version of the 2018 Jimny called the Jimny Safari, which has like fender flares, slightly bigger tires, a slightly bigger engine, and those are export only because they're too wide and too powerful to be considered K cars underneath Japanese tax laws. So this is the Japanese specific, JDM specific, I guess I should say, version of the kit. So like I said, brand new, because all of these Snap kit line kits are brand new. And yeah, if you again are looking to try to get someone into the hobby or get yourself back into the hobby, these make a great weekend kits. They sell for about $25. They're roughly about 45 to 60 pieces, depending on whether you get the 71 GTR, the 2024 GTR, or this Jimny, because there are like the three of them. There are more to come in the line in 2025, and including like a Supra and Mitsubishi Evo. Can't remember what Evo it is. I think it's an Evo 4. It might be an Evo 3. I can't remember which Evo it is. I really wish somebody would do an Evo or an Evo 2, because it looks like Hasagawa modified the tool to the Evo 3 and they can't reissue the original two kits. And if you ever try to track down a Hasagawa Evo, Mitsubishi Lancer Evolution, just the original kit, the Evo 1, if you will, or the Evo 2, they sell for crazy amounts of money because they can't be reissued. So yay! Yay! So that takes care of Aoshima stuff. Sort of Aoshima adjacent. There was a spot production run of the Newno. This was originally a B-Max kit, but it's been rebranded Newno. The Lancia Delta S4 1986 Monte Carlo Rally kit. This is the Martini schemed car. So this sold out pretty quickly in like January 2025. I don't know that you could find one of these in like a frontline hobby shop like the Hobbylink Japans, and the hobby searchers have sold out of them. I'm sure they're floating around on eBay and stuff like that. Don't pay a ridiculous amount for a B-Max kit when you can get the new one for less money. You should be able to anyway, because it's a fresh reissue of it. And there is a detail upset. I was going to say carbon fiber. There's a huge amount of carbon fiber in the detail upset, but there's a detail upset for this that has been rebranded Newno from the B-Max original one. This does include a number of tanks and like containers. I'm not sure what the reservoirs. I'm not exactly what they're supposed to hold, because I'm not that familiar with the Lancia S4 to know what they're for. I know one's an oil tank. I'm not sure what the other ones are supposed to be. At any rate, those parts are not included in the kit in plastic, so the only way to represent them is to buy the detail upset. The detail upset does come with about 4 sheets of carbon fiber for the chassis and the interior and the seats and a couple other little odds and ends, plus of course seatbelt material and all that good stuff, antennas and whatnot. So it's pretty worth it for this kit, especially considering the fact that it includes pieces that don't come in plastic. Over at Hasagawa, one new kit, one reissue. I should say 2 kits. There were other kits that came out of Hasagawa in November, but they were just restocks, so I'm not going to cover those. The brand new kit, the new tool out of Hasagawa for the fall 2024 is this Toyota Starlet, the middle version 1980. Anytime we start off calling things versions, there are more versions to come in the future. I would expect there to be a late version, possibly an early version, maybe a daylight savings time version, maybe a Canadian exchange version. I'm just being sarcastic at this point, but understand that they didn't create a brand new toolkit just for this. This body does have a sunroof in it that you kind of stuck with. You don't have a choice about it very much. You could you could not cut it open, but you'd have that great big outline in the plastic from the pre-cut sunroof. It's got a line. It's like every sunroof in the world. I don't know why I'm struggling over this. It's like every sunroof in the world, right? It's got a big groove in the underside of the kit roof so you can cut it out easier. If you don't cut it out, you're going to end up with that weird thing. The very amusing part of this is that the sunroof on this car was like a metal sunroof, so it's body color. It's not glass. So you're cutting the sunroof out to put a solid piece of plastic back in that's body color. But again, it'll look goofy if you don't, because it'll have that indentation in the plastic that you have to try to fill otherwise. Very interesting 2-part wheels. There's a chrome lip, and then the center of the wheel is separate so that you can paint the wheel center gold as it would be on this car that you saw in the box art, and then put the wheel center into the wheel lip so you don't have to try to mask off the wheel and paint it chrome or anything else like that. It's a 2-piece wheel. Pretty well broken down. You do get the plaid seat decals for the plaid seats that you saw in the box art there as well. I'm not necessarily sure what you would do with those seats otherwise, because they are, if I'm not mistaken, only in that red plaid. I have one sitting here beside me, but it's too far down in the stack to dig out. I think this plaid only came in one color. Yeah, it only comes in the red plaid, so that probably kind of limits you in the outside body colors, which is, yeah, kind of sucks, but, you know, Hasagawa wants you to build the model the way they've given it to you. They don't care. If you want to modify it, that's your problem, kind of thing. So, very nice kit overall. All of Hasagawa's kits are extremely nice, and this is no different. I know there's a huge swath of people, led by Marco Screws, who, you know, already have a freighter of these things sitting out in their backyards to put rotary engines in and have a good time with. There's another one of these coming out this month in January, but we'll talk about that when that kit's released and we get around to that video. The other Hasagawa kit is going to be this. I think it's a Datsun, technically, right? Let's bring up the wall of text. No, it's a Nissan 240 RS. It is it is left-hand drive, so that's what made me think Datsun. Apparently, this was Nissan at this point. So it's got the Nissan factory corporate colors on here, the red, white, and blue that so many Nissan factory cars, in some way, shape, or form, sport. From the rally cars to the Group C cars to the Le Mans cars to the touring cars. A lot of them had this corporate livery on it. This is the 83 Monte Carlo Rally. I can't remember where this car finished. Let me see if the kit description, the literature here says 14th place. So it's not the greatest, not the greatest song in the world, so to speak. It's not the greatest finish in the world. The kind of the problem, quote unquote problem, air quotes, that Hasagawa had with this, trying to make this kit into the rally car, because you recall this came out as a factory street Nissan 240 RS, or Nissan, Silvia, and then it came out as a Nissan 240 RS homologated road car, which we've covered before. Looks just like this, except it was street legal. And then there's this rally car, which has a few parts added to it, but not really too many parts added to it. Mainly the external driving lights, and the wheels are different than the street car. But a lot of this, obviously, because the homologated road car was a rally-ready car, in effect, there weren't a lot of extra pieces added to this, just mostly the decal scheme. This, kit's come a long way in a relatively short amount of time. And there's actually, again, like I said, there's a Gazelle coming shortly, as soon as I get that video edited and uploaded. So, yeah, quite a bit. Quite a bit out of this new tool. But the reason why I was saying about this rally car, I remember more my train of thought was going, was that when B-Max did this was one of the first rally cars that they did after the ST-165 Celicas, was B-Max did the New Zealand rally from 1983, which they finished third place in, which is the highest finish this platform, ever got. So when you go to make a car and not copy something that already exists, you gotta kind of like, what, Monte Carlo? That's Monte Carlo. Everybody knows what the Monte Carlo rally is, except the car really didn't do that good. So, that would be a good kit to do a comparison with. Get the old, because B-Max, I don't know that the B-Max Nissan corporate car has been reissued, but they did reissue the Safari rally one. So those, you can still get the B-Max Newno 240 RSs relatively easily. Perhaps not the easiest thing, but relatively easily. And it'd be interesting to do, like I said, a side-by-side of the B-Max Newno kit and the Hasagawa kit to see which one's better, different, and so forth. And that brings us to the last kit of this episode, and some would say saving the best for last. And this is Tamiya's brand new toolkit for the end of the year. The Porsche 911 GT3 RS. So this is a pretty smexy car, let's just face facts. You can hate modern cars all you want to. Porsche 911, come on. It's a classic. Just, they all look the same more or less, but it's a classic car design. Obviously, rear engine, the whole 9 yards. This car can be built as a regular GT3 RS or the GT3 RS with the YSOC package on it, which is basically what you see on the box art. A couple of decals are really the difference between the two. This kit comes with 4 different colors for the side stripes, and they're all, I believe, shorts. I can't, again, I have one, but it's buried in crap. Still need to do some more videos about what I've gotten in to unbury the pile back here. But there are 2 different options for the striping package. One that just covers the door and the area around the door sill, and then a long stripe format that has a stripe that goes in front of the front wheels, behind the rear wheels, and that middle part. And I can't, off the top of my head, remember if it has a long stripe option or not. But the stripes come in 4 different colors. The box art offers you 4 different colors you can paint the car in. You could get this car in pretty much any Porsche color you could imagine, with a wide variety of striping colors and wheel colors and interior colors and interior stitching colors and all those sort of things. Incredibly customizable car if you had the cash money to buy one. To add on to that, now, several months later after this kit's come out, and here in January 2025, KMP is doing wheels for this kit. Zoom On has done wheels for this kit. LB Production is doing decals for this kit. But Fat Frog, which is Hobby Easy's sort of in-house 3D printing company, they've done 2 different sets of wheels for this kit. I believe Miniature Encore Models has done a wheel set for this. Basically, those wheels that are on the kit only came in the YSOC package car. So if you want to do a regular GT3 RS, you need a different set of wheels. If you want to do that tribute to the Carrera car, which is a white car with green accents, that requires a different set of wheels. And like I said, KMP is actually doing a couple aftermarket sets of wheels that are not factory options, which look pretty cool if you are into those. SK Decals has done a carbon fiber set for this car because holy crap is the carbon fiber crappy in the Tamiya kit. Not the quality of the decals, but the mesh is way out of scale on it. It looks bad. It just looks bad. There are a couple other options. Miniature Decals will give you a carbon fiber set for it as well. You really need the carbon fiber for at least the hood and the trunk. The rest of the stuff's kind of hidden. You might not notice it, but the hood and the trunk are going to be really obvious if you use the kit decals instead of real carbon fiber twill for it, or in-scaled carbon fiber twill for it. And LB Productions has done 11 different colors for those side stripes and the interior stitching and the spoiler decals and the seat decals and all the sorts of things. LB Productions-hk.com for those. SK Decals you can order through SK Decals on Facebook. Zoom On and KMP and all those. You can Google the addresses for yourselves. But there's 15 different ways you can build that kit. Like, there's so many ways. It's really one of the Tamiya kits where there's no excuse not to build one the way exactly you want it to be built. Find a car that you like in real life and build it from there, because I guarantee you almost 100% that the options to build it are out there now. So anyway, guys, that wraps up this video. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you guys on the other side.